I made all of my decisions based off of this. Stay in your lane, stay in your zone, because money follows a process. And liquidity is not stops, by the way. Dumbest thing in the world. The biggest thing is I am enough. The waiting is the work. Put losses in two categories: something you can control versus something you cannot control. Your edge is weak when there's just these consistent flaws that keep showing up. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of JSP, Just Some Podcasts. With me, the host Andre. I was supposed to have a guest on here, but I mean, things happen, things change, and you know, whatever. So let's get to it. So what I want to talk about today is just the connection between trading, your personal life, how they intertwine, and also how to disconnect. When I was trying to make it as a trader, I had two kids. They were relatively young, and I missed out on a lot of things. I missed out on family parties. I didn't miss any birthdays or things like that, but family outings, and everyone would be asking, "Where's Andre? What's Andre doing?" Andre was at home with his laptop that was on its last leg. And one of my fears is unfulfilled potential. And that kept playing in my mind over and over and over and over again. So at that point, I have no choice in my mind but to push forward. Here's why. People are watching. I put all my eggs in one basket, and they say, don't put your eggs in one basket. And I don't want this to turn into some kind of cliche chit chat about success, because it's not. Let's be real. I put all my eggs in one basket and didn't know what the outcome would be. All I knew is that my desired outcome is to go into I until I fail. That was supposed to be the outcome. And by failure means it just, if worst came to worst, I would have to go back into the working world. So what does making it in anything and as a trader look like? I think making it as a trader looks different than making it in traditional business. Here's why. And maybe it is the same. I could be wrong about that, because I failed at a startup before, and it's just a long drawn out story that doesn't need to be told. So making it as a trader requires one, knowledge, right? Two, capitalizing on that knowledge. Also realizing that that knowledge is not, and I mean is not, going to have you win 100% of the time. Three, adjustments. So Einstein, I think it was Einstein, could be wrong because I'm no Einstein, said that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. It's kind of how trading is, but it's also slightly different. You have to find your edge, and you beat the living crap out of your edge over and over and over and over again until it becomes fruitful. Now, here's the thing. Knowing where your edge is strong is super, super important. The other aspect of that is knowing where your edge is weak. Your edge is weak when there's just these consistent flaws that keep showing up in your methodology. And then how do you improve that? Well, you try to improve the flaws. You improve the flaws in your edge, and what happens is over time, your win rate increases, your confidence increases, and hopefully your trading account increases. Now, I'm going to say something a little bit controversial here. You see these guys on, and I think I said this on the last episode, you see these guys smashing 99 lots and full margin Fridays and all this other crazy stuff. Chances are that's freaking demo. Here's why. MC4 has its limits. I said this in the last podcast at 100 lots, right? That's number one. And again, if you see all that crazy stuff, it's demo, and there's all kind of stuff that traders do on the back end to try to get you to buy their course, right? Don't go for it. Don't fall for it. It's not worth it. Because what happens is you start to compare your results to them, and now you're comparing yourself to something that's not even authentic. And the drain mentally that trading can have on you is intense, and the drain on any success that you're trying to attain can drain on you mentally. Like for instance, MF CEO Andy Frisella, his story resonates with me, right? But again, I don't necessarily know if I had it as hard as that guy sleeping on couches, but it awakened something that was dormant in me. So guys like him, it made me realize I wasn't doing enough, and that with the 24 hours in a day, I could do more. Then it also made me realize I can also do more, but also be efficient. I don't have to kill myself day in and day out. I can put in 2 to 3 solid hours of work, take a break, give my mind a break. That's the thing. I don't back test for hours on end. It doesn't provide fruit for me. What I do is I'll do 2 hours on, maybe an hour, let my brain absorb the information, then I'll come back to it. Hour on, couple hours off. Let your brain absorb the data that you just essentially put in it and ponder it and make the adjustments to it. What did I go wrong? How can I improve it? And the other thing too is being 132,000% honest with yourself. Don't rewind the back tester if you're in learning mode and focus mode. And that's where the truth comes. So like in my trading group, for instance, I have a section in my Discord called Losing Trades. The point of that is for me or someone else who's more seasoned in the group to hop in there and actually tell you, hey, this is what you need to do. This is why that trade messed up. Now, I put losses in two categories: something you can control versus something you cannot control. If it's something you can control, like not following your trading plan, I'm just going to randomly enter because I think so. Well, you're not being objective. That's a loss you could have controlled. Something you can't control is the market gets low on liquidity and starts to spike to the next level of liquidity. But liquidity is not stops, by the way. That's the dumbest thing in the world, right? It's literally not retail stops. So again, I know that's all the buzz with all the talk about smart money concepts and all this. My thing is, if I'm not knocking it, whatever works for you, you do whatever works for you. I don't give a crap. But if you know what quote unquote smart money is doing, I think you should be a millionaire. That's just the bar that I set. Now, let's get back to the inner workings of you. I'm attracted to greatness. Jordan was my favorite person, my favorite ball player growing up, and then Kobe, because Kobe and I were around the same age. And I really identified with what Kobe talked about is the work ethic, man. Like even now with 3 kids, I get up and I work. I don't go to bed until my job is done, whether it's this podcast, whether it's putting out content for the group. I'm not going to sleep until that's done. And here's the other thing. I don't force trades. If a trade doesn't happen, move on. Be okay. You got to find peace with that stuff too, because again, you don't want to run yourself ragged because, oh, I didn't get a trade. Realistically, I get 2 to 3 setups a week per what I trade, mainly GU, GJ, sometimes gold, AUD, USD, that those just the simple basic pairs. And I'm okay with that. And I don't trade 94,000 pairs. There's guys that can, like I have a guy in the group, Mark. Mark is a machine. Mark trades everything. And Mark is a young, phenomenal full-time trading talent. And hats off to him. He can do that. I don't. So I stay, and that's another lesson. Stay in your lane, stay in your zone. And again, the glasses analogy, right? If I put my glasses on or gave my glasses to you and we switch glasses, our vision's distorted. We don't do what anyone else does. So let's put sports back into this. Stephen Curry. I think he's a great example of expanding the game and working in his own lane. There was nobody shooting 30, 40 the 3-pointers. And again, if you don't identify with sports, my bad. But he did his thing. He didn't fall for what's called the form of the shooters like his coach, Steve Kerr. Who else was his dad was an awesome shooter. Who else was a Hornacek? All these guys that could shoot, Reggie Miller. he broke the mold because he had the talent to pull up from 30, pull up from 40, and make it. And he revolutionized and changed the way the game's played. But that's a function of him staying in his lane. Curry did not, or does not try to be Michael Jordan. Kobe does not try to, Curry, sorry, does not try to be LeBron. He is Stephen Curry. So as a trader, you do you. So a lot of times people in my group will come to me and say, oh, I'm doing it this way. I'm like, I can't say it's wrong. I just don't see it. I'm not going to do it. If it works for you, fine. Chris Laurie calls it the UPP, your unique psychological profile. I wanted to bust out the 90 by nature. You down with OPP? Yeah, you know me, but I'm gonna refrain from that. But those things are key. And another one is understanding who you are in this moment, because a lot of times you're going to be the trader that you are as a person in that moment. And we change, we learn, we grow. And I can attest to that. I went from scalping to short term to long term, and now I do all three, just depending on what opportunity shows up. So I think that's key. That's important. I tried to mimic my mentor. I tried to mimic Chris, and I had some success, and it just wasn't sustainable long term for me. I went out, did my own research, and didn't really validate it with anybody, because I did run it by Chris to see if it was something that was used, and he said what he said, and that's a conversation that's between me and Chris. And all it did was it again, another fire. I am enough. I know enough. The biggest thing is I am enough. I know enough. So I'm just going to continually execute on what it is that I do. I don't care what anybody else does. Right. And again, I'm a process thinker, and all I did was I reverse engineered the market. Why did it stop here? Why did it stop here? What made it tick here? What made it move here? That is all I did. And then forward tested in real time. And it's amazing. There's a guy in the UK. He dropped some really good gems on me. Gems, ironically, his name is Jim. And he was like, yo, I don't back test, like forward test. And then this was when I was like maybe a year into profitability. I was like, what does that mean? He's like, oh yeah, I just make a small account and I trade my theory on that. And it's brilliant, because that's something I took to my students, is because you need to see how you are going to respond to money. You have to. So let me show you something. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're going to see the visual $100 bill. This used to control me. I made all of my decisions based off of this. What I ate, what I did, everything was based off of this $100 bill. And at the time, it was probably a $20 bill. And then at some point, I realized I had to relinquish the control money had on me in order to make it as a trader, because money follows a process. And if you're working, you think about it, if you're working a 9 to 5 at the moment, you have to follow the process of working for 2 weeks to get paid, right? If you don't show up, you don't get paid. Trading the same way, show up. But the difference is you may show up and there may be no work, but the no work is the work. The waiting is the work. The other thing is separating from the trader. I wouldn't say lifestyle, but let's say separating from trader. This is what I tell my group. I call it hats. When I'm sitting here at the computer, trader hat comes on, right? When I step away, I take that hat off, and the Andre hat comes on. If I'm with the children, that hat goes on, right? If I'm with the wife, husband hat. Sometimes the hats overlap. Sometimes it's husband and dad hat at the same time. When I'm cooking dinner, chef hat, right? When I'm taking the kids to school, taxi driver hat. But when I'm done, I take the hats off. Sometimes you have to take the hats off. We can go deeper into things like spirituality and all that stuff. And if that's something you want to do, let me know. I can do that. But that's all I wanted to talk about. Just a really quick, really short, I don't want to say really short, but just a really quick talk about everything. And again, if you're watching this on YouTube, please like, subscribe, follow, leave a comment on all the other platforms. That's all I want to talk about. But if you wanted me to dive more into the spirituality that I found in trading, I'll do so. Let me know. I got you guys. All right, guys. I'll check you later. Take care. And I wish you guys nothing but success. Peace.